Thank you, thank you. My name is James Phoenix, and welcome to part 2 of our WXR 1-year anniversary special, where we're taking a look at our fantasy WrestleMania 31 cards as we would book them, given the opportunity. If you haven't had a chance yet, part 1 is now available on our YouTube channel, where you can check out the card of Chris the Mole. For this video, we're going to check out my card for part 2, and stay tuned for part 3 after this, when we will check out Marcus Shadow's card. With me, as from the last video, are Chris the Mole and Marcus Shadow.
Hello.
Yo. Alrighty. So we're going to go through my fantasy card. There will be some similarities to Mole's card. I know there are a certain few matches that we all kind of generally agreed upon. So some of those will be similar, but some of them will be different. So I'm going to start off with my pre-show match. I chose to have a pre-show match, and it's not a battle royal, because yeah, I didn't need it. I have something in place of it, but the pre-show match, I figured I want to give the guys a chance to shine, but I couldn't find room for them on the main card as much as I wanted to put them on there. So I figured, okay, for the pre-show match, we'll have a pre-show match for the NXT Championship, because I feel like the NXT guys need a chance to shine. And I don't know how this would exactly based on where the storyline's going, because I don't regularly watch NXT aside from TakeOver, the review of which for TakeOver Fatal 4-Way you can see on our channel from last night. But I was going to do a triple threat match for the NXT title of Adrian Neville versus Sami Zayn versus newly acquired Hideo Itami, because I feel like they're probably going to push him through the roof because he's fucking Kenta. So I can see that now. I figure at this point Adrian Neville will probably heel turn after that whole, I pulled the ref out to stop Sami Zayn getting a victory and myself look a little like a dick at TakeOver. I feel like Adrian Neville might be on the cusp of a heel turn. So I feel like he could heel turn, have feud with Sami Zayn as a face, and have Hideo Itami in there as a wild card, like you don't know which side he's on. Is he face, he heel, what's he doing? So, have him in there as well, and kind of have like a triple threat feud going on, and now book that for your pre-show match with the three of them. Give them, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, maybe a half hour, let them go at it.
I could see that being pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing an NXT match on my card as well, but then I thought about it, and I was like, well, they kind of have their own, quote, pay-per-views, unquote, so... And
yes,
also... Oh, go ahead.
Yes, but their pay-per-views are not WrestleMania, and they're only half the length.
True. I was going to say, also, how did that make Adrian Neville a dick? To me, it's he's the champ, he wants to protect his title at all costs.
Which is understandable.
He's not going to give up his title.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, he shouldn't have given up his title, but that is a dick way to save your title. Because you didn't hear the crowd ooh when he did that, clearly. Because I did. Because clearly they oohed, and Sami Zayn looked at him like, dude, what the hell? Because I thought we were on the same page, we were going to do this as a fair match, and Adrian Neville was just like, well... So I feel like it may not necessarily intentionally be a... I mean, they could even heel turn Sami Zayn, saying like, dude, what the hell was that all about, man? I had that match won. I thought we agreed going into this that, it was going to be, great match man for himself, it was going to be a fair match, and you pull that kind of cheap crap, what the hell? So they really heel turn either of them at this point. But I just want to see those two. I want to see those two go at it one-on-one. Without, as much as I like Tyson Kidd, I feel like he's kind of in the way of what could be a really great match between these two guys. And Tyler Breeze is good too, but the same thing.
Yeah, I could see that. And I also think you probably had it right the way you had it, just because I honestly think he'd make a much better heel.
He seems like the kind of guy that could be a good heel, yeah. He doesn't talk much, he's kind of dark and brooding,
The only part I would slightly disagree on is the Kenta factor, only because he's definitely a face. The crowd loved him. He only went against heels. However, that totally works if you've got a heel champion, because, oh my god, one of these faces will take his title.
Exactly.
Could also add odds for him to cheat.
Right, so it works.
It does, I liked it.
Yeah, it's a good. I thought that'd be a good match. By having that pre-show match, you can take the pre-show match, you have it on the WWE Network right there, and you can, advertise heavily. Oh, this big triple threat NXT match will be on the pre-show that you can only see on the WWE Network for just $9.99. And use that to pump up the network and people to get the network to come see WrestleMania, and kind of use that as a thing to get people to want to watch the pre-show. I think that would be cool.
Yep, plus like most dark matches on WrestleMania, that'd make a great Blu-ray bonus feature.
It would. So, moving on to the main card of the night. I was trying to figure out a good way to do this, and like I said, some of my matches ended up as what you might call clusterfucks, because I was trying to get as many people on the card as possible, so we'll see how this works. Because I think it's going to be interesting. I'm going to open it up with a tag team championship match. Because at this point, I'm 98% sure the Usos ain't dropping the titles anytime soon, because WWE doesn't know what the fuck to do with the titles besides have them on the Usos. So unless they can drop into the Dust Busters, and at this point, I'm not sure they have enough confidence in them to do it. So,
unless your theory about the Ascension coming to the main roster, I'm guessing they were only on main event to promote TakeOver.
well, actually, funny you should mention the Ascension. Because the Tag Team Championship match is going to be a triple threat tag team match between the Usos versus the Ascension versus the Wyatts. Because I feel like the Usos and Wyatts had a lot of really great matches, and it just got boring because there were so many in a row, and because it was the same match over and over again. But having those two in a match, being able to do awesome stuff, and putting a great tag team like the Ascension in there, mixes it up even more, adds a crazy fact to, oh, what are these guys going to do? These guys, these big tag team, they got that devastating double team maneuver they like to do. They're really good technically in the ring. How's that going to play into both? You got three different types of tag teams. You got the high-flying Usos, the technical Ascension, and the power Wyatts. How is that? How are they all going to mishmash together? It'd be like a really kind of a cool match.
I could say that could be pretty cool, especially based on the three teams. I'd actually ironically say the Ascension and the Wyatts are similar. However, I think that totally works, because I think this could totally be like a new generation's version, if you will, for lack of a better term, of the Hardys versus Edge and Christian versus the Dudleys, because Edge and Christian and the Hardys were a very similar team in how they wrestled. The Dudleys were sort of that team that was like the different one to the other two, which that would kind of go in it with the Usos being the different team to the other two. Especially with the Ascension and the Usos both doing like darkness and light and how they wrestle. I think that could be great, and that could be a modern day Hardys, Dudleys, Edge, Christian.
I didn't think of it that way, but that's a good point. Yeah, I just felt like looking at these three teams, like, okay, I figured the Usos are probably going to get the titles because they're just a great tag team and they're faces and they're doing great. And the Ascension, it looks like they're being brought up, so I feel like they will probably want to heavily push these guys, especially as somebody who's coming in as a fully established, legitimate tag team, and not, two random dudes are thrown together because we need a tag team. So I feel like they should probably get a good tag team push. And I had nothing for the Wyatts to do, so I stuck them in there. Because I'm like, well, the Wyatts have nothing to do, but they have good matches with the Usos, so they could probably have good matches with the Usos, with the Ascension in there. That'll mix it up a little bit, so it'll remove that issue of, we've seen the match 10,000 times. So I'm like, okay, that'll work, so I went with that.
You take that back. Teams thrown together can be awesome. I'm sorry, Ryback is up there with the Rockers and the Hart Foundation. As tag teams that should have split up.
Yeah.
Speaking about tag teams that were thrown together, how about one involving your favorite wrestler of all time, Jim, Jericho?
Jericho was a good tag team only because Big Show and Jericho have such experience and are number one, they're friends, and number two, they have such experience, have been there so long that they can pull that off by working together because they've worked together for many, many years, maybe not directly, but in a lot of different matches, so they can pull it off. And it was that's a random fucking pairing.
Honestly, my favorite with that with Jericho was Jericho and Edge. Just with those using them to get like Colito and his brother over and stuff like that, because both Edge and Jericho have no problem putting people over. So all their tag team matches made every fucking team that went against seem legit. I liked Edge and Jericho together.
That was a good team too. I did like that team.
Shame it didn't last longer. Which one was it? It was either Edge or it was Jericho. I think it was Edge got injured.
Yeah, that's when Jericho formed, because Edge got himself injured, and they ruled that Jericho could not defend the tag team titles by himself, so Jericho had to find a new partner, and he found the Big Show.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, does this mean you don't have a host for WrestleMania?
I do. I hadn't mentioned it, but I guess I should mention it. I won't mention it. My host for WrestleMania, because I wanted to involve him. I have a couple of things here. My host for WrestleMania, I wanted to involve him, but I couldn't think of anything. I didn't want to put him in a match because I feel like it would seem really forced in there if I put him in the match. So I said, well, I'm there. Having him there we'll sell some tickets. It's Stone Cold. I figured he'll sell tickets. He can ride around his ATV. He can drink some beers, stun a couple of people. He can spout some catchphrases, and it'll sell some tickets. It'll work.
That could work.
Yeah,
There's a logical conclusion. If 1 year we had The Rock, 1 year we've had Hogan, it makes sense that the next guest host should be someone like Austin or Bret Hart or someone like that that's been a face. That makes sense, and I can totally see people liking Austin.
Yeah, because I figured you try to put him in a match, it's going to seem like kind of forced in, and as much as I like Austin, given the number of years it's been and the fact that he was never that technical of a wrestler to begin with, I don't know how good it would be. But you make him the host, you have him in there. He can come out and do what he does best. He can cut some promos on people. He can drink some beers. He can walk through the backstage areas and make jokes at people as he's walking around. He can ride out on his ATV to open the show or something. Whatever. He can do some fun stuff like that. You say, oh, Austin's hosting. People will come and tune in to see Austin. They'll buy some tickets. So it works to get Austin on the card without him feeling shoved in somewhere.
I could kind of agree with that, but I would say there are possibilities for him match-wise. Like, personally, a matchup I kind of want to see is Cena versus Austin.
That would be a good match, yes.
Because we saw the Rock v Cena, and those two are very similar. Cena versus Austin, you could totally go into his whole thing of don't drink. You could actually sort of do the CM Punk straight edge thing, kind of, but also play up the fact Cena's more PG, even though that doesn't matter. Have him be like, no, don't drink your beer, Austin. There's kids who look up to you. Come on. And have Austin be like, come on, Cena, grow some balls. You never give up. You always brag. You're the superstar that never gives up. I'm the toughest son of a bitch there is. And just build those two up. I'd love to see that.
That would be good. And unfortunately, you're saying this, and I now see Cena coming out and like downing like Cokes or something, just to mock Austin.
Or Pepsi, just to also for getting a CM Punk.
There you go.
Yeah,
that'd be funny.
Or new Surge, it's back.
I saw that Surge is back. That's gonna be good. Yeah, he comes. He starts downing. He starts downing Pepsi. He's like, no, I was like, you like Pepsi as much as I like beer, there, John Cena. Well, I mean, I like Pepsi. I want to get it tattooed on my arm, but I like Pepsi.
Yeah, no, I was kidding. I didn't want to recreate that because I'm sorry, Kurt Angle Milk Flow. But I just thought with that one I just threw out, I was just thinking it'd work because I could totally see Austin ripping into Cena for not being as badass as he is. But I could also see Cena ripping into Austin because he doesn't have to go out there and swear and drink and do all the bad language and shit to get himself over. So he could insult the Attitude Era while Austin can insult him for not being the Attitude Era. Both fans wins. But I was just using that as an example of you can insert Austin. I didn't realize I went on a little bit of tangent.
That's okay.
What did Marcus think of that?
Yeah. But actually, before you go on, you actually made a point that you could form the ultimate breakfast tag team of Kurt Angle with the milk truck versus John Cena with his Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah. But what did Marcus think of his guest host?
I think it's good. I think it works, and I think it's a good reason for it. Like you mentioned, with the whole Rock and Hogan thing. It's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh no, I was on about with him using him. Yeah, I see what you mean. So I thought you were replying to me saying about Cena going against The Rock and the rumored Hogan feud. I was like, oh no, okay, I know what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, so we got it. Yeah, and it would work because you can also talk about the fact that so if you think it's a big deal, you beat The Rock at WrestleMania, but you know what? So did I, and it looked a lot better when I did it. Then again, they could find they both beat The Rock at WrestleMania, so it's like, oh, who's gonna be better? So they could talk that up.
But Austin did it more times.
True. So, and Austin did it while he was half dead. So anyway, other things to mention just for reference here. My musical guest is Weird Al Yankovic because he needs to come to some big sporting event and play it because he's clearly not going to get the fucking Super Bowl. So let him come to WrestleMania. People will tune in to see that. Oh, and he can come out and sing. I feel like it'll be hilarious. He has that new hit song "Tacky." Parody of Pharrell Williams' "Happy," and I feel like that will be some ideal thing for WWE because if you see the music video, what Weird Al does is they're in a theater, they're in the back hallways and rooms of a theater, and he and some celebrities are hanging out, like Jack Black and people are dancing around in Tacky's clothes singing the song, or Al's voice is singing the song, and the others kind of just jump in and they do the dance around and they act out some stuff. This could work because you just cut to the backstage, like start in the parking lot, and Al have him like leaning against the hood of a car, and just start singing Tacky in a tacky outfit, and just start walking through the WWE locker room as he's singing the song, passing all these people who might, are wearing tacky clothes or reflect things in the song. Oh, he passes Tyler Breeze in his bright ass blue foam, and oh, here's Goldust and Stardust over here, or whatever. He passes all these tacky looking people as he's singing the song, and they're just looking at him like, what? It'd be hilarious.
That does sound awesome. Can I just suggest one little joke?
Sure.
At some point, can he turn around and can Kip James be his... Oh, not Kip James, whichever one's Road Dogg. Can Road Dogg be his roadie? Just to go back to his roadie gimmick. Just for one night. just because I think that's the perfect joke.
That would be a great in joke. That's true. Not like he's a road agent, he'll be there. So yeah, that works. That'll be funny. I didn't think about that. And also, I added on here. This wasn't required, but I figured I'd add it on here because I wanted to see it. Because there's going to be a pre and post show, and they might pop up once or twice during the course of the show. Because they did so good on Raw the other night, I think the pre and post show analysis team is going to be Renee with Hogan, Flair, and HBK. Because they make a good team.
Ooh, you just used up all 3 of your returns.
They don't. No, that doesn't count because they're not in wrestling capacity.
Ah, but you said only if they were in host capacity on your.
I didn't say host. I said I said host, a musical guest, or other is what I said.
I was kidding.
I know. No, I said, like I said, what I actually said was it could be the host, musical guest, or any other type of non-wrestling capacity. I don't know if I phrased it that way, but that was the intent.
Yeah, it's cool. That they were a great team.
Yeah. Appearance for outside wrestling, host, musical guest, or other guest appearance from outside wrestling. Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, so again, as long as it's non-wrestling, because I only have 3 returns in the ring. So
it's cool. Like I said, it's cool. We will allow it.
So those guys are there because I figured I was tempted to make them the commentary team but I'm like, no, then Michael Cole's gonna bitch on social media. I don't want to listen to that, so no. So
just unfollow him.
True. Anyway, so moving along, after the we were in tag team title match. So after that, I was trying to figure out how to put this together, and it seems like this could come together as just a really good outright match, just a good wrestling match to see here, because I wanted to get these guys in the card. I was trying to figure out how to fit them in the card and make it good. So I went with a tag team match, and the tag team match in question would be renewing 2 feuds for WrestleMania if they're not continuing through WrestleMania, which one of them probably isn't, but one of them might. And the tag team match would see Chris Jericho teaming with Dean Ambrose to take on Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. Because I had those guys, I'm like, okay, I want these guys to be on the card. I definitely need Rollins and Ambrose on the card. And I'm like, I have nothing for Orton to do. And Jericho's my favorite superstar. I'd like to put Jericho as one of my 3 returns to get him on the card somehow. So, like, well, a tag team match, because the Jericho-Orton feud could pick back up when he comes back. I mean, normally Jericho comes back to put people over, but it could work. And I feel like there could be some kind of, like, mixture of feud between these guys. Because Jericho could come back and continue to feud with Randy Orton, and Rollins could pop in, sort of help Orton and kind of talk trash about Jericho, and Jericho could have some matches with Rollins at the same time, helping to put Rollins over a little bit, as Jericho is apt to do. And at the same time, Dean Ambrose is going to be running like a crazy person, and he could have matches with Orton. I kind of mix these 2 feuds together as like it's almost a 2-on-2 feud, because it's like, okay, Orton and Seth Rollins is basically the tag team of the, if Kane is not involved, and Kane might get involved, but it's basically the tag team of the Authority taking on Jericho and Ambrose, who are kind of the main rivals at this point. And I feel like that was just technically speaking, from perspective of what those 4 guys can do in the ring, that would be a really good match.
I like that match.
Yeah. I understand. It seems kind of random when they stick them together, but it just seems like, well, it's technically two Authority feuds they couldn't mix. It's like, well, I guess it works.
It does. How about Marcus?
What do you think, Marcus?
I think it's a clever match. I approve.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. The next match on my card is my favorite match of the night. I think this was the first match I thought of, because as soon as I was thinking about this is immediately I said, oh, yes, that's going to be a match. Now, I don't have a Battle Royal on my card, but I needed a match where I could get a lot of guys on the card. So I had a similar idea to Mole, because I think this is inevitably going to happen somewhere down the line here, is that there will be an Intercontinental United States unification match. But it also occurred to me that, you know what? Both the Intercontinental and United States titles have been kind of like a quick-moving revolving door with the same group of guys, for the most part, for a very long time, and the titles have kind of been interchangeable. They haven't really distinguished, really meant anything. And I feel like WWE could build this up, have the 2 champions, and build this up as sort of turn the mid-card into kind of a almost a hardcore title-style clusterfuck minus the weapons. Had that be like, have Triple H come out at one point and be like, we really want to push our mid-card titles here in the WWE. We want to make sure these guys that are not in the world title match are going to get the respect that they deserve, and have him talk up like he's going to push like Rollins and Kane or something in that, the mid-card ever at some point. Or he can mention some guys like them. They're not going to be involved, but he can mention them. And just talk up some of the guys in the mid-card. And talk about how, back in the day, he won the Intercontinental title a bunch of times because, he's going to mention himself. Talk about some famed champions, shit like that. And basically talk up these 2 titles. I mentioned how it seems there's a lot of guys who've competed for these titles recently, back and forth, and a lot of these guys don't like each other. I kind of talk up all the different dudes, and and basically have it kind of devolve into a sort of what I call a clusterfuck feud, and basically have it sort of that the two champions are there, and not only are the two champions kind of feuding with each other, but which maybe have Triple H say something like, if something like something kind of talk about the prestige of the two titles and how if whoever the two champions are could win his respect and the respect of the authority, and that might help them further on in leaning toward a world title shot. I'm talking like this is going to be something good to have, and not just a curse that the titles actually are right now, especially the IC. But anyway, build this up. So basically, have the champs around and have the champs constantly getting jumped by different dudes and trying to fight different dudes off. Make it look like all these guys really give a shit about these two titles. And have Triple H finally come out later, calling up WrestleMania and say, you know what? It occurs to me that we have these two titles, but it's we've had trouble deciding which one is the better title. So you know what? We're gonna have a match to crown one mid-card champion among all of you, and we're going to we're gonna find out who is truly deserving of they'd make up some bullshit name, the unified intercontinental United States title, what the fuck they call it. He'd make up some bullshit name for it.
The WWE Network title.
There you go. Some kind of title. Anyway, so make up some title for it.
$9.99.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically the way I booked this, and this match is going to be a clusterfuck, and it's probably not going to be good, but it's going to be that match that people are like, oh, that sounds like it's going to be a good match, and they'll tune in to watch it anyway, and there'll be some good spots, and people will remember it, but it won't be as good as it could potentially be, simply by virtue of the match having a lot of guys in it. So what I have booked, because if you're going to unify some titles in style, in a match, in an overbooked clusterfuck match like WWE would make it, that probably is just going to lessen the impact of the belts overall, but still look kind of badass and sound good on a WrestleMania card. So, I have booked for WrestleMania the Intercontinental United States Championship Unification 10-man ladder match. Because why the fuck not? I like ladder matches. In this match, I tried to give a variety of dudes in this match that could do different things. So, in this match, the participants will include, and I don't know if all of these guys will be in it from the start, but I feel like maybe leading up to keep adding some dudes as they go on and have the last guy be added in, either depending on what at WrestleMania we'll see. And technically, I'm going to say you might debate something on here, but we'll talk. So Sheamus, Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, Kofi Kingston because it's the ladder match, so Kofi needs to do something crazy with the ladder. Big E because you need he's one of two big guys I put in here. If you have Big E in there to help Kofi, give another face. The Miz and Damian Mizdow, who would probably work together for the duration of the match and try to win cheaply, and maybe that could be the point at which Damian Mizdow turns on Miz and tries to win the title over him, and they get in a fight and cost each other the match. And then I also have Bad News Barrett, who he's on an injury. I don't count that as a return because he's still on the active roster. He's just injured, so I don't count him as a return.
That's fair enough. That's what we said. Injuries don't count as returns. Hence why I had Dean Ambrose and Daniel Bryan. Right,
fair enough. So anyway, so Bad News Barrett would come back, and I feel like he would be like the last guy announced for the match. I feel like the other two guys in the match are Jack Swagger and Rusev, because I feel like this would happen like this. The first 6 dudes would be announced: Sheamus, Cesaro, Ziggler, Kofi, Big E, Miz, and Mizdow. The first 7 dudes or so would be announced for this. And then at some point, after these have been announced, Lana would come out with Rusev, and she would spew some crap about, look at this, you're having this big unification match for this title, but you intentionally exclude the man would crush you all, the Bulgarian brute, Rusev, because you are all afraid of him, and he would defeat you. And so Triple H was like, all right, fine, Rusev's in the match. And then at that point, Jack Swagger and Coulter come out, and Coulter talks about, I think a real American needs to be in this match to counter the influence of this Russian brute right here. So Jack Swagger gets himself added to the match. And then I feel like at the paper, it's kind of a special treat. Like book that up. So, okay, 9 dudes in the match, and then at the pay-per-view itself, have all the guys come out, have them all in the ring looking at each other. There's ladders around about to start, and the bell's about to ring, and you just say, you probably all thought you had a chance of winning this match, but I'm afraid I've got some bad news. And everyone's like, oh shit, the old Intercontinental Champion's back, and then Barrett gets in. I feel like Barrett will probably win the match. Either him or maybe Sheamus. But I think maybe Cesaro, one of those three dudes would win. I don't think any of the other dudes would win. But I feel like Rusev and Big E could have an impressive big guy fight at some point. Kofi would do something. Kofi and Dolph would be doing some crazy shit off of ladders. Miz might do something. Miz and Mizdow will be trying to cheat and sneak in a ring and do shit. Sheamus and Barrett would be bringing power and with quickness. So it's kind of a balanced matchup. But with 10 guys in a ladder match, it would be a clusterfuck because they'd all be knocking each other out and taking turns. But at the same time, you can do some awesome stuff like they could all be up on like 4 ladders, all try to grab the belts at the same time, and they all fall over something. Do a couple of big spots. It wouldn't be a technical match, but it would be a fun match. Just here's a bunch of dudes with weapons, and we'll just kind of let them go nuts and unify the titles that way. Put them both above the ring. And you got to bring the titles down, and then after that happens. Then, with all the guys defeated, then you could use this to even change up and separate everybody off back into their respective feuds. Like you would use this match just to change up and establish new feuds. Coming out of this, Rusev might get into another, renew his feud with, like a feud with Big E, for example. Maybe they got into a big man fight in the match and they get back into their feud again. Maybe the Miz gets in a fight with Sheamus and they start going at it. Maybe Dolph Ziggler gets a Bad News Barrett's face. This could just kind of mix up the entire mid card, and in addition to the champion coming out of it who will be feuding with somebody, you could also mix up and use this as an excuse to mix everything up and launch new feuds without having to establish all these feuds because they were fighting in the match. It makes sense they don't like each other right now. So it'll be a good chance to not only unify the titles, it'll be a good chance to put all these guys out there, get them out there, say, hey, here's our top creme de la creme of our mid-card. Here's what they could do, and kind of put them out there and maybe build some feuds out of it. So that's my big gimmick match for the night. What do you guys think?
Fair enough. I feel like, even though I think they did a 10-man Money in the Bank once, I feel 10-man could be too much for a ladder match.
That was part of my concern. Like, I want to have these guys on the card, but that might be too many guys. But it's the kind of thing WWE would overbook for the sake of look at all these guys in the ladder match. They would do that.
Like I said, I feel 10-man's too much for a ladder match, but at the same time, like I said, it's worked in the past. It could work again, so it could be pretty cool.
Yeah. What do you think, Vargas?
Yeah, I agree. I think 10 men might be a little too much, but as Mole pointed out, they did do it in the past. So, and the people you put in the match, I could see them working well together in a ladder match.
Yeah, because I was debating, do I want to drop a couple of dudes in there? I'm like, who would I drop? Like, I could drop Big E and Kofi, but that just seems racist and wrong. I could just drop Big E and then drop, have Miz now just interfering and not in the match. Like, that's not fair to Damien Sandow. He deserves a shot at the title. He's a good superstar. Stuff like that. So it's like, if I keep 10 in there, it'll be a clusterfuck. But they've done it before, and it's WWE's kind of thing where they have, they can do a cool thing where instead of just, we're all taking turns in the ring, do it the way they used to do some Attitude Era style matches where, okay, maybe there's like 4 dudes fighting in the ring over the ladder, but at the same time, all the guys are all fighting outside the ring. Like, here's, Miz is beating up Dolph Ziggler over here in this corner by the announce table. Bad News Barrett is smacking Sheamus up the ramp, and they're beating each other up. Have the guys fighting all over the different parts. Big E just knocked Rusev into the crowd, and they're fighting in the crowd. Have the guys all over the place. Have it be like a bunch of different fights going on at the same time, and have the camera cutting back and forth between them, just trying to cover all the action, see what's going on. And the commentators talking up like, my God, this is a war zone out here. Look at all these guys. There's bodies everywhere. Talking up like that old school style kind of match they used to put on back in the day.
So what you mean is Money in the Bank? Because they do that in all the Money in the Banks, like Sheamus powerbombing Sin Cara through a ladder. She cut to the other side of the ring, and there was one or two superstars taking each other out in the corner. Another one had wedged the ladder. They still do that in multi-man ladder matches.
Yeah, but not as much as they used to, because a lot of times, here's one, then we cut to another one. But at the same time, it seems like it feels nowadays like there's a lot of, we're taking turns as to who the focus is on, as opposed to the Attitude Era where, everybody was just doing their own thing, and it was just up to the director of, who are we focusing on? Whereas nowadays, it's like, so these are going to take their turn, then we're going to cut to these guys, and the other guys have stopped off camera, type of thing. Whereas it felt like there was a lot more activity in matches back in the day. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. Moving on. This one I was debating. I got a Divas Championship match next. And I was debating who to put in this match. Because I was like, I want it to be a good match, but at the same time, I understand that with the current feuds, there are certain people that are going to be in the match, whether they're good and deserve to be in the match or not. Cough, fellas. And so, it's like, okay, how do I book this and make this something, somewhat entertaining in some manner, and have enough people into it this could potentially be a good match. Part of me wanted to call Charlotte up, but I feel like WWE has enough divas. They probably wouldn't call any more divas up right now because they're trying to focus on these divas as much as I would like to call Charlotte or somebody else up. But I figure what we could do to have a little balance of both in-ring skill and I guess I'll kind of have in-ring skill, but I booked a championship scramble because they haven't had one of those for divas before, and I think that'd be fun. And basically, I did Paige, the Bellas, and Natalya. I figured, okay, you got Paige and Natalya, whom we know can wrestle if they let Paige fucking wrestle. Those two can be the wrestling brunt of it. AJ can wrestle halfway decently. She's got a good move set, so she can put on enough of a, a little more. And the Bellas would handle like some more flying around, some more, more athletically type stuff, not a little less technical, a little more spectacle. So I feel like.
To be fair, the Bellas can do technical.
Can they? All right.
Yeah, WWE just doesn't let them because they trained for ages with Natalya.
Oh, fair enough. Well, good. Let the firemen go out there and wrestle. Give us okay. This is going to be a, I don't know. So it's going to be a championship scramble for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever. Because Dio's match isn't going to get much time at WrestleMania. So let them go at it. Let them go back and forth. They're rolling each other up. AJ taps somebody out with a submission, or Natalya taps somebody out with a submission hold. Just kind of go back and forth, have the ladies all beating each other up, and end it with, and any of them could win. I feel like Natalya probably wouldn't win as much as I'd like her to, but any of the other four could easily take the title and continue their feuds going in that direction. So, and heck, if you wanted to, you could technically, since Natalya's more NXT, you could replace Natalya with Stephanie if you wanted to put a big heel in there for everybody to really focus on besides Nikki. But anyway, moving on.
I like that. It's always good to have the divas something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a championship scramble is interesting. Like you said, it's never been done with divas before, so I could see that kind of working.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, I initially had it as a fatal four-way, but I'm like, I want to put like, as much as Paige as we know is good, I want to put somebody who's really a well-known good, physical wrestler in there. And I was gonna like a Charlotte, but no, they probably wouldn't call her up that quickly, even though it is 6 months away. What about Natalya work? She's an established main roster. There's not Natalya in the match. So.
You could have brought Tamina back too.
I didn't think about Tamina. That's true. What happened with Tamina? Is she injured or something?
Yeah, she got injured.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I can bring Tamina back. That'd be good. That could be the turning factor, having Tamina back behind AJ in the feud. Anyway, so my next match is another great match. I think this will be a really good match to see because both of these guys can put the match on, and it would be a really really good match, and it would be that Triple H is arrogant enough to do this. Because basically, Daniel Bryan returning from his injury to take on Triple H in a 30-minute Iron Man match. Because Daniel Bryan would come back and talk a lot of shit about Triple H, and Triple H would be like, "You're a B plus star." Daniel Bryan's like, "All right, you insist that I'm a B plus. You insist that I'm not good enough to be the champion. You have done nothing but torture me. You've tortured my wife. I am done. Let's find out if you could truly put your skills where your mouth is. I challenge you to an Iron Man match at WrestleMania, and we'll see who the best man truly is. Or we know Fluke falls. There will be no disqualifications, none of this, none of that. Well, then we know, somebody lost on a DQ. No. We will find out who is truly the best. And Triple H's ego would not let him say no, so they would end up booking that match. And because I feel like number one, oh shit, people would want to see this, and it would be great, and it would make sense for the feud based on what happened in the past. At some point in time, have the Iron Man match being played out, and at some point, have basically in some way, I'm trying to think how you would add that in there. Because Daniel Bryan would need to be the one to add that in there, because the Authority would. Maybe Vince face turns and helps Daniel Bryan. I don't know, or the board or into somebody helps. But anyway, somewhere along the way, Daniel Bryan gets the ability to announce a guest referee. There's a guest referee in this match, which that also is not wrestling and does not count on returns. But you have at some point, Triple H, maybe Triple H tries to announce like Kane is going to be the guest ref or something, and Bryan's like, no, that's not fair. You can't do that. That's not going to work. Whatever, talk some crap about you can't put this, maybe Triple H is like threatening to do it or whatever. And at some point, there's going to be a guest ref. Maybe there's a contract signing for, who's going to determine the guest ref or whatever. There's a contest for who gets to determine the referee for the match. Like maybe Daniel Bryan has to fight like Kane or Orton or somebody to determine who's going to get to pick the ref for the match or something. And Daniel Bryan wins the match. And like maybe the Raw before WrestleMania or like 2 weeks before, at some point, have him like, I don't know who I'm going to pick, trying to think about who's he going to pick. And then finally, like the Raw before WrestleMania, or maybe 2 weeks before, if you want to give it a little time to promote it and build it up. And so when Triple H is like, it doesn't matter who you pick. I am the game. I am the COO. This is my company. Some B plus like you can't beat me, and you know it. He's just talking his crap or whatever. It doesn't matter who you pick as referee. It doesn't matter. There's nobody. Like, who's gonna side with the B plus like you? Who? What? John Cena? John Cena's got a handful with his match, which I'm gonna get to. Who are you gonna be? John Cena? He's like your only friend. Who the hell are you gonna pick? Who's gonna help you? Look in my eyes, what do you see? And Triple H is just like, oh, fuck. So, special referee CM Punk, because that would be hilarious, because there's two possibilities for ways this could go. Number one, either CM Punk, as what expected, helps Daniel Bryan, he plays it fair, maybe he does something clever in the match, he got a clever promo about, I'm going to call it right down the middle, I promise, Hunter. And have a clever promo where he's kind of, subtly helping Daniel Bryan, but not cheating. Or, if you want to just up the tension of the feud even more, have the match start playing out, have them start doing this, and have Punk turn on Bryan and help Triple H win the match, only to reveal that the reason CM Punk left is because WWE knew that having CM Punk around was a threat to the Authority, and that having Punk around was giving Daniel Bryan an ally they didn't want him to have, so they paid him an exorbitant sum of money to stay away from WWE until they thought it was a good time to have him back, and they brought him back. He completely sold out to the Authority. Because everybody be like, oh my god, CM Punk's back, yay! Oh, he's a heel, you motherfucker, we hate you! He would have so much heel heat, it wouldn't even be funny.
And that does sound pretty cool.
Yeah,
I will say, technically, you did break the rules again.
How did I break the rules again? He's not wrestling.
Yes, when you read it, you said, as a host, musical artist, or another capacity.
Referee's a capacity.
Yes, but the fact you've already got a guest host and you also got the panel means you already used your or. However, it's fine. It was a cool match.
Well, nobody said we could. In fairness, I don't think the rule stipulated you were limited to one or.
Question: do you have any other returns for matches?
Well, just the one match that I think we all took besides the event.
It's like I said, it's cool. We'll allow it just to get through the thing, and it's cool. Like I said, that sounded like a cool fight.
Yeah,
or a cool feud.
Yeah, kind of build it up like that.
Although logically speaking, it'll be the CM Punk turns heel aspect, just because I don't see Triple H losing to Daniel Bryan one-on-one in 2 WrestleManias.
Fair enough, and that's why, I can see that working well, okay, if Punk tries to betray him, but Daniel Bryan comes out on top anyway or something, and I feel like I really want, because Daniel Bryan can't heel turn this one, I really want CM Punk to come back and heel turn it so Punk and Bryan can have a feud, because those are two, the best just outright mat wrestlers in wrestling today, and I've wanted to see them feud for a long time. Well, yeah, I said two of, I didn't say the two. And I really want to see them just have wrestling matches and just be able to go at it one-on-one. And they've always been both either both faces or whatever and haven't been able to. And I think it'd be a great feud. And I'm like, a part of me wanted to book it as Punk versus Bryan in the Iron Man. I'm like, but that wouldn't make sense unless Triple H brought Punk back directly as a heel. And I feel like WWE would want to get the promo, face Punk is back to be at WrestleMania to sell the tickets before they turn him heel. So.
Yeah, it's like I thought you were going to go a different route with it.
What route did you think I was going to go with it?
When you mentioned Kane and then Daniel Bryan saying no, he wants to pick a referee, I thought you were going to go the route of they both have a special referee, like Triple H has Kane, and I don't know, Daniel Bryan has Vince.
Oh, that'd be I should do that. Yeah, that's
and then end it in a draw with submission and a pin at the same time with 1, 2, 3 to go into.
Actually, that's an amazing idea. That's what the match should be. I'm changing that. That's the match now. I have 2 referees. Yes, I didn't think of that. That's great. That's great. They count and they each get to pick. That's hilarious. I love it. That's great. Okay.
Would you also do the whole UFC, because UFC did it before, and then, obviously not on purpose, and then WWE did copy them where, it's a submission and it's a pinfall at the same time, so both refs count on the last 4, so it's a draw.
Yeah, they've done that before. Yeah, that'd be funny.
So who are the refs in the match now?
Oh, it would be like Triple H would pick Kane and Daniel Bryan would pick Punk or something like that. I like Maul's idea. I think that works because Kane had nothing to do on my card, so that gives Kane something to do. So I like that idea. Or maybe Punk is the referee, but Kane is the official enforcer or something. But having two referees, I think, is better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honestly surprised you didn't give Kane something to do. You did have something perfect, in my opinion, on your card.
I did.
Based on what Kane's done in the past, you could have had Weird Al sing a song about something like the big red machine is no longer mean, he's now a corporate sellout, and have Kane chase him throughout WrestleMania in various skits trying to get his hands on
Okay, that would be funny. That would be funny as hell. You're right. That would be great. He would do that. Al would do that too. He totally would do that.
You totally do. And at one point, Kane's probably going to grab him and choke slam him. Or Tombstone like he did to Pete Ross. I could totally see it.
There you go. Fair enough. Moving along.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next match on the card. I have 3 matches left. The next match on the card is kind of it's an okay match, but it's more the cool down after that big Iron Man match before the last 2, which you already know what the last 2 are. But I had nothing for either of these guys to do. As I'm like, well, they can reignite their feud to build up to WrestleMania, and it could be a good match if they work it right. It could be a decent match. I booked John Cena versus Bray Wyatt because I had nothing for either of those guys to do. I'm like, well, they had a good feud. Their matches were not terrible. They could have been worse. And I could see them, especially after John Cena, I could see basically John Cena loses to Bray Wyatt, not to Bray Wyatt, loses to Brock Lesnar and shit, and kind of goes into this spiral. Maybe he starts losing a bunch of matches. And being the kind of guy he is, as this happens, that's exactly when Bray Wyatt would pop up and just start rubbing salt in the wounds. And so then if it's he'd be like, you see, I was right, John Cena. You have fallen. I start, cutting, kind of rubbing salt in his wounds for the fact that he's on his losing streak and he couldn't beat Lesnar and he lost the title and everything else. I kind of build that up to, Cena's got to get back on his winning streak. He's got to overcome this. He's got to turn his career around and get back on the horse. And he's going to start with Bray Wyatt. Kind of build that up that way.
And that'd be a great match. Those two have had some good contests, and it'd be kind of cool.
Could be interesting.
All right.
Though I feel that would be kind of retreading old ground a little bit, in my opinion. But
I can understand that. I ran into the problem of I have these 2 guys and I have no match to put them in, so they're going to have a match.
I'm just going to make the comment our audience are probably thinking, WWE? Retread old ground at WrestleMania? Are you crazy? Did you not see Once in a Lifetime? That was a once in a lifetime match. We're never going to see those 2 go against each other again. Never.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last 2 matches we kind of talked about, we already know what they are. It's Undertaker versus Sting and Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I think we all kind of went that route.
What versions of Undertaker and Sting?
I didn't really think about it that much. I think Mole makes a valid point with them. They're out of their costume and everything else. But I also think that as cool as that would be, WWE loves to sell merchandise and hype spectacle too damn much to let them do that, especially after they just promoted Sting coming back in the video game commercial with the white face and the bat and the coat and shit. So I feel like it would probably end up being some semblance of the Dead Man. Like maybe he would be a little less, maybe he'd come out with, maybe he'd just walk out to the ring, there's a smoke, but he wouldn't have druids and the fire and that shit, It'd be kind of toned down from his normal big WrestleMania entrance. But he'd still come out with the coat on and the hat and everything. But I feel like it'll be that thing where he comes out in the coat and the hat, but he still does a little bit of talking with Sting, just like Sting would come down from the Raptors, do a little bit of talking. They would cut some promos on each other, like we respect each other enough that, yes, we're in character, but we're still going to, do our thing. But I feel like as much as it would be cooler to have them in the biker and the other thing, and they're just these 2 guys, I feel like WWE wouldn't let them do that because they would sell, the Dead Man versus the Crow, whatever the fuck they call that form of Sting, and they would sell way too much merchandise doing that. And I feel like WWE wouldn't pass up that opportunity to make money and to hype the shit out of it.
Fair enough. I felt with the one I had mentioned with the non-makeup and stuff, they probably would have sold it more because I could also totally see a DVD with both, like the Rock Cena DVD with both guys sat down out of character, talk about their careers and how they've been lined up side by side for all these years and stuff.
That's true.
But I think the Dead Man versus makeup would also totally work. I'm not against that at all, if that makes sense. I just preferred the other route. But did you have any match stipulations for the other 2 matches?
I did not. I figured end the match card. Undertaker versus Sting is big enough that it'll work on its own without any kind of stipulation. And Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, those two are just gonna beat the hell out of each other. I feel like the World Heavyweight title match. It shouldn't be bogged down with too many stipulations. It should be this is the main event. This is a match. It's not this and that. And yes, once in a while it works depending on feud.
No
But it's
sexy pillow fight.
No sexy pillow fight. As much as we know from that video with Kurt Angle, the Brock Lesnar does like kissing dudes. We're not doing that. But I just feel like this will be kind of build up. This isn't this isn't going to be a match. This is going to be a fight. Build up, that kind of thing WWE likes to do, and build up. Just these two guys are just going to beat the hell out of each other, and that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be any kind of. It's going to be a straight up match. It's not going to be anything fancy. It's just two guys going at it in the ring. I mean, maybe you could tack on a no DQ just so they could go outside the ring and fight around and shit, and not get counted out or whatever. But just a straight up. Just these two guys are gonna fight. Because I feel like that's exactly how they would book it up. It's the power of the power of Lesnar versus the power of Reigns. It's two big power dudes, both of which can move pretty well. I think Reigns a little better than Lesnar at this point in time. But, two big guys, they can move, they've got power. It's the F5 versus the Superman punch, or the spear. Don't make it the spear, though it should be the Superman punch. And, how's this going to play out, what's going to happen? And it'll be booked as it's a straight up one-on-one in the ring, who is the better man? Because that's the kind of environment that Brock Lesnar thrives in.
Yep, I could see that. Like I said, I had that match down as well. Like I think we all did. But it's like there is one thing I could totally see WWE possibly doing in that matchup.
What's that?
Brock lock at the start. Oh my God, Roman Reigns is injured. He can't use his arm properly. Still have him fight and stuff. And then suddenly for that big WrestleMania moment, the jumping Superman punch with his injured arm.
That could work.
I could totally see WWE doing something like that.
Yeah.
I hope they wouldn't, because the other route would be better. But I could totally see them doing that route of
they could do it.
His arm, boom, Superman punch.
Yeah, and this goes back to the other thing I was considering that I could also see happening. That depending on how the night played out, could be interesting. It could make the night really good. I was also considering, like, if Brock came in, if we saw Brock throughout the night and he was being really in like the weeks leading up, and he was being really intimidating toward Triple H. And he was getting a little worried about Brock being, maybe like Brock is showing concern about Roman Reigns, and Brock is like, he's like he's pretending he's not concerned about Roman Reigns, but clearly is, and not sure about that, he's worried about WrestleMania, he's considering, pulling out the match or not showing up. But Triple H, we're like, this is my main event, I got to have him show up, I got to make sure he shows up. And Paul Heyman's like, well, I don't know, Hunter. I mean, the Beast incarnate does what he wants, and so I can see Triple H saying to Paul, all right. You want me to appeal to you want me to stroke your ego a little bit, Paul? All right, fine then, Paul Heyman, you are the host of WrestleMania. How about that? And just have Paul walking around just cutting promos on people all night.
Nice. Oh, I thought Austin was the host.
He is. I'm just saying I considered Paul Heyman before I selected Austin.
Fair enough, and that would work. Although I will say, terrible Paul Heyman impression.
I know. I wasn't trying hard. So that is my card for the evening.
Hard? Don't you mean at all?
I said that is my card.
No, I was reacting to you saying you were saying you weren't trying very hard with the Paul Heyman impression. I said hard. Don't you mean at all?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But that is our WrestleMania 31 card. Highlights being, I think, the 30-minute Iron Man match and the 10-man ladder match, which is probably a clusterfuck, but WWE normally doesn't care about that because they want to get a bunch of dudes out there, have them all do a bunch of spots. 3 of them will be injured at the end of the match, and that'll be that.
Yeah, I will say, it's a pretty stacked card. It's pretty cool. The only thing I would say is, like you'd mentioned with the other thing is, in my opinion, there's no pacing. Like Undertaker v Sting, you're gonna have the crowd going, oh yeah! They're gonna be dead for the main event because they need something to wind down.
Right. That's what I was trying to figure out.
And also the only other concern would be time, because it's stacked and you've only got a certain amount of time. However, it's still a great card, and I'd watch it.
Well, that's why I figured the pre-show matches beforehand. So you figure you got 4 hours. You need 30 minutes for the Iron Man match, so that leaves another 3.5 hours. You figure if Undertaker, Sting, and the main event are probably each going to get a half an hour, so that's an hour and a half. So that's an hour and a half out of the card for those 3 matches. So that'll drop it down to 2.5 hours remaining. You figure you probably want to give, a half an hour to the ladder match, so that would bring it down to about 2 hours remaining right there. And now within the 2 hours, you figure you probably give, 20, 25 minutes to the tag title match, 20, 25 minutes to Jericho. The Divas match would be short. The Championship Scramble would be like 10, 15 minutes. That wouldn't be a long match. And, leave a little spot for promos and ads in between. Cena Bray Wyatt would be like 10, 15 minutes. They go at it. It wouldn't be that big of a match. Big epic feud thing. But, Cena doesn't do well in matches where he has to go for a long time. So.
Yeah, and like I said, it works. The only reason I only mentioned time is because, like you said, like Triple Threat Tag Team and some of the other stuff, it just felt like at WrestleMania. Normally they have like 45-minute matches as like their big contests and stuff.
True.
I was just thinking time-wise, it might not have been enough time. However, it's a fantasy card and it's still a great card.
Yeah, and I feel like, and you're right, because that was my problem I was looking at. It's like I realized it's a very stacked card, and I was having problems breaking it up. What I should probably do is I should probably have, like, for example, what I should probably do is have the tag team match, then the Intercontinental match, then have the Divas match, then the Iron Man match, then Jericho Ambrose versus Orton and Rollins, then Taker Sting, then Cena Wyatt, and then the main event. That'll probably be a better setup to balance it out a little bit.
Yeah, well, like I said, how you got it's fine, and it's pretty cool. I was just giving my personal opinion of it overall. Like I said, it's still a good card. What does Marcus think?
I agree. I think it's a good card. Yeah, you make a valid point, Mullen, that the pacing could be a little bit better, but yeah, it's his card.
Yeah, I tried to fix it beforehand. I knew the pacing was off for the end of it, but I was like, well, I'm just reading off the matches. I mean, if there's something to change to move the matches around, I tried to move a few around to break the pacing up at the beginning of the show a little bit. At the end, got kind of heavy on it because I just trying to figure out what matches to move where. So the matches would have to be rearranged, yes, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I got the idea.
I'm aware the pacing was screwed. I tried. Yeah. I failed.
Yeah, like I said, it's cool, and I know it. I'm aware it was his card, Marcus. I was just giving, you know what I mean, an opinion on it, if that makes sense. But
no, I was agreeing with you because you're the one who said it was his card, so it's okay. And I was like, I was agreeing with you.
Oh, I thought you were saying the other thing of, yeah, I agree with you. The pacing was off, but it's his card. I thought you were saying it like I hadn't realized it was his card. I was like, no, I don't remember why.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's a pretty good card. I'd watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So back to our host.
Alrighty, well, thank you guys for joining me to look at my card. Stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at Marcus Shadow's WrestleMania 31 card. And shortly thereafter, a little later this evening, we're going to hopefully have Richter Hammer's card and a final look back at all the cards and a little cross discussion of our setups. So stay tuned for that.
But first, an intermission.
Yes, there will be a short intermission.
And based on Raw this week, I will say, my client, the stay-at-home dad gamer, will arrive. His plane's just been delayed.
Fair enough. All right, folks, stay tuned for the next few parts. Like I said, there will be a short break. Keep an eye on Twitter, Facebook, and our Google Plus page, of course, right here to see when the next episode's going to start.
For $9.99.
For $9.99, yeah. Check out the X-Pound Network, just $9.99. All right, folks. We'll see you for the next video. Stay tuned.